Shalom, shalom, family. Shalom, tribe. I just got on here for a few seconds to share something that I realized is being looked over, or people are just not paying attention. And this relates to the true scriptural locations. And there was a time actually I did a couple of videos. I think I did two videos. One which I had identified uh, the actually the coasts of Solomon, what was called in the Bible Ezion Geber, in First Kings 9, chapter 9, verse 26, I think. And this Ezion Geber, uh, actually, it's Zangobar. It's Zangobar. That's the Ezion Geber became Zangobar. This was purely revelation, by the way. And I went on to do another video on the true location of Gilgal and the Hill of Foreskins and Gibeon and all the scriptural locations. I actually just decided that I'm going to have to travel to these places to do a more um comprehensive coverage of why I think these are the true scriptural locations as mentioned. But the reason why I'm here actually is because of one, a scriptural location that I happened to not even question because it was linked to oral traditional history uh, from the tribe where I come from, that is Kikuyu and Meru and Kikuyu tribes. Um, because in my oral history, uh, my forefathers would go around this mountain and they would pilgrimage there at least once every year. And it's something that continued in practice until, you know, the Gentiles came into the land and we were under colonialism. They still knew where this was because people might not or might have a different opinion, but I think um, Kenya is the scriptural Jerusalem. And I'm just not going to say Kenya alone, but it has to go across the entire East African uh, that stretch of land actually where the navel of the earth, the midsection of the earth on the equatorial line, that is where I started looking at things differently. And I borrowed word from Jubilees chapter 8 and Jubilees 8:19. And in Jubilees 8:19, we're told that the true uh, portion of Shem actually and how it went out to Shem. In fact, the whole chapter just lists um, this Noah and his sons after the flood. Now, when YAHUAH actually decided to bless them with uh, land. So everyone had his own portion, and if I can just get to Jubilees. Sorry, family. I think I had this pulled up, but so we're gonna go to Jubilees. Yeah, I think I can share my screen now. Yeah, there you go. So I'd expect everyone actually to just go through this in their own time, because the whole book of Jubilees actually is just historical accounts. It gives us true and a bit more accurate description as to what happened in the canon, the books in the canon. So I'm just gonna go over because all of this just describes how Noah was told by Yahuwah how he should divide up the land. amongst the sons and their posterity. So when you come to chapter 18 here, it actually starts here on somewhere around chapter 11. It talks about the portion of Shem, but area of interest is here. And Noah, chapter 18, verse 18, sorry. And Noah rejoiced that his portion came, rejoiced that this portion came forth from Shem and for his sons. And he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy. For he had said, Blessed be YAHUAH, Elohim of Shem, and may YAHUAH dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of YAHUAH, and Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, Mount Tsiyon, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other. Now, I I I took interest in this because I mean that's a clue, right? And you need all pieces of the puzzle to fit in to this composition to make a complete composition. But you might make a complete composition, but everything is juxtaposed. Understand? I can flip a piece around and put it somewhere else where it wasn't supposed to be. In fact, you just have the backside, so you won't see the full picture. But you need to look at the pieces individually so as to make the whole. Reminds me of prophesying in part, seeing in part. So you have to see in part to then be able to see the whole. If you see the parts and put them together, you can see the whole. That's basically what I'm saying. So once I started looking at this, I realized two things actually. That the navel of the earth, you can't have two, it's just one. And that's the equatorial line. And if you ask me, that's a no brainer because Tsiyon sits uh, uh, on the line, and it's actually smack in the middle of the line. Now, people will tell me that I once actually raised this with some South Americans who claiming that we're Hamites and all that, and that Americas is the promised land. And I drew correlations between what they were saying, but it didn't make sense. It didn't add up because what's on the line in the center and what's on the line uh, on the outermost part is not the same thing because we're told it's the center of the navel of the earth. So I don't know what you make of that, but you can choose to make whatever it is. Um, I just wanted to share one last thing on my screen here so that you can then go off into your own research and analysis. So I went into Google Earth and I said, I'm gonna have to get to the base of this, and which is what I did actually. And I zeroed in on Sinai. True scriptural location of Sinai is Jabal al-Lawz, and that's in Saudi. It's a center of the desert, and you can see here that's Jabal al-Lawz. That's Mount Sinai, and it's not what they told you. You need to look up if you don't know the true or scriptural location of Mount Sinai. There was an archaeologist called Ron Wyatt who did an amazing job actually, and he is one of the people who cited and was 100% sure that this was the true Sinai. So when you go from there, you go to, of course, Sion. And so if you see Sion here, Sion is at the center of the navel of the earth. You can see it runs across, and it runs across the mountain actually, cuts across. And I don't know about everyone else, but this is an interesting place because in and around the entire mount, you have about 25 lakes. And how the mount actually rises up is what uh, gives it that grandesque kind of appeal. When you even look at it, when it rises, it just rises gradually and then sharply at some point, which is where you can see. And when you move from here, you go into what people would call the Lunar Montes or the Ruwenzori Mountains. And this is what we believe where the garden was. And they knew. That's what I'm just gonna refer to. The Gentiles knew when they came here. They were 100% sure where this was, and they even made it a crown colony. So we don't. I don't believe it's right for us to go back and start looking for uh, a location when these people are bouncing us around. Yet the description uh, fits this location. You can see here. See, and these three mountains face each other. And well, if you ask me, Jerusalem is where Tsiyon is. And if Tsiyon is here, then I don't know what everyone else is saying. This is Tsiyon. And I told you that the entire coast of East Africa is called Zangwebar, Eziongebar. So it's like the mountains beyond Zion. And there are no other mountains actually beyond Zion. There's a hill structure here, which you call the Jubilees. It's like it covers the area where we're talking about the coastline. It's called Eziongebar. So by and large, guys, we need to look at things differently. So I actually took a screen grab of this so that I can then post it. And feel free to looking at it. Feel free to carry out your own research as to whether or not this guy is completely loony or something. But I am 100% sure of this. It's beyond reasonable doubt anymore, and this has to go public. This has to be published, and I've tried to do it, of course, on social media, but that doesn't suffice. This needs to be published and discussed at how do I say it? At a level where it's not debatable anymore. It's factual. We can get down. We can scratch the surface and actually see a different underlying truth. And for me, that's what's more important. So instead of trying to hop around, it being in South Africa, it being in the Tigray regions, it being in the Ivory Coast or the Gold Coast where YAHUAH came from and was taken into slavery, we need to understand exactly where these locations were, and we need to find them, and we need to tell people, because I believe we've switched over into the disinformation age. And what describes the disinformation age is that everything in truth might be known in truth, but partly. And the disinformation there is to throw you off from the truth. So they'll give you a shred of truth, and then they'll lace it with so much disinformation. It'll be difficult for you to put a finger on the concise or precise or the actuals. So you go around hopping in different locations, and then you can never actually agree on one location. You see, then they tell you guys must be mad. We know where the true scriptural Jerusalem is, and it's on that small hill in Gaza, in Philistine land. We need to correct these things, and that's why I was here. And that's why I've done this, and I'm going to share this. And I'm going to share that I'm going to try and publish and get this word out to as many people who are willing to hear it. So once again, I thank you all, and I thank the Most High for bringing us into this awakening and for bringing us under instruction, so that we may then learn and and come into fruition actually, as and was intended by the will of the Most High. So with that, I'm just going to have to jump off and wish you guys a good day, and share this out with whoever you feel might need or struggles with uh, understanding the scriptural locations. So with that, thanks and shalom.